Welcome back, my friends, to the Energy Center podcast. Dana Teresa here, the metaphysical mentor. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on this journey through this life together. I'm so excited to be your guide in some way, in some form. Thank you to all of the conscious leaders, heart-led healers, and those of you who are ready to let your soul be who you came here to be in this life. I've been giving a lot of thought. There's been things happening in the world lately that really are making us feel like we're stuck in these same old repetitive patterns, old ways of being, and things that just quite honestly don't really feel like they're resolving. It seems like these cycles of separation keep repeating themselves, these cycles of seeing ourselves on polar ends or polar opposite sides of the spectrum seems like it's just, again, repeating itself over and over again. And to me, it really feels like it's time for us to build awareness around this and to understand that we have a choice. We have options. We have the ability to move beyond our old patterns, our old ways of being, and to step into something new. So this is episode number 39. We're getting up there. And this episode is going to be all about the interesting tactics that we unconsciously or consciously implement in our lives that keep us stuck in these repetitive cycles. And so, yes, I'm talking about on a personal level for us individuals. I'm talking about on a group level. I'm also talking about on a collective level. What are the things that we are doing personally, individually? What are the things that we are doing collectively that are perpetuating the cycles of separation, that are keeping us from moving forward and evolving and expanding our consciousness and our unity? So I'm not going to really speak to the events that have happened recently, but it does feel like it's a calling. It does feel to me like it is this strong nudge from the universe that, hey, you guys, wake up. Wake up. It is time. It is time to change. It is time to transform. It is time to take ourselves to the next level because this old level isn't serving us. This old level isn't allowing you, us, we to be in our highest expression. I know that our highest expression as humanity is not fighting with each other and waging war against each other and being violent and persecuting each other. I know what I feel so strongly is that we have the opportunity to move more towards a golden age, an age in our planetary history where we're loving each other and embracing each other and nurturing each other, supporting each other through everything, and loving and supporting, honoring and celebrating all of our differences. And so how do we start to create this shift on the planet and in our lives? It starts by coming into deep awareness of how am I personally, myself, perpetuating this cycle within myself. Because as within, so without. We are all reflections of each other. And when you start to change your inner landscape, when you start to grow and evolve and shift how you are treating yourself, thinking of yourself, being, then that creates a ripple effect out into the world. This is energy. This is the laws of the universe. I'd really love for people to understand and to start to, again, build awareness around how important our energy is. So let's talk about, on a personal level, how our egos create these interesting ways of keeping us stuck, of keeping us safe. So let me start by just explaining what our ego is. Our ego is a part of our primitive mind that evolved over time to keep us alive, to help us survive, and to not only survive, but to procreate and to continue our lineage, to continue life from moving forward from just us, right? And so we have this ego that is meant to protect us and keep us safe. And at the same time, the ego can also take over and run the show and try to protect us and keep us safe when it's not necessary. So some people like to call it the negative ego. I like to call it that as well, because we don't want to completely annihilate and destroy and release forever the ego. We need it. The ego is going to come in sometimes and protect you and keep you alive when you're in a literally dangerous life or death situation, right? You need your ego. But yet there are times when you are standing on your edge of personal growth and evolution, and when you're faced with opportunities to expand into something new and different, to really walk farther down the pathway of your soul, that your ego is going to try to hold you back and create all these excuses and all these interesting, sneaky ways, sneaky tactics to keep you back, to keep you stuck, to keep you in that safe comfort zone, right? So one of the tactics that I was thinking about just the other day, and I feel is so interesting, is running away. So sometimes we think we're running away for something, we're, doing ourselves a favor, or we're heading into something new and different and exciting, but we're running away from the work or the opportunity or the challenge that really needs to be faced. So let me just share. I know all about running away. I ran away for so long from myself. And it started when I became a nurse. I left my home in Chicago and moved out to California. And at that time, and looking back, I know that that was necessary in my life. There are times when running away or moving away someplace new and different, it is necessary. It is needed. And I know I needed it at that point in my life to help me see different perspectives, to get me out of this funk, this old funk, old energy that I was stuck in with my family and my family drama and trauma. But the thing was, after I moved away and became a nurse and worked in California, I kept running away. I started travel nursing, and that was new and exciting. And every few months, I was in a different city. And then I moved across the country. I went to graduate school. Then I went overseas and worked with Doctors Without Borders. Then I came back and I kept trying to, and then I came back and moved to Colorado, and I kept trying to work with Doctors Without Borders again. And then finally, the universe was like, no, you're not running anymore. You're staying right here. You're staying in Colorado. I kept applying for other jobs. I kept trying to get out there and do other things overseas, and it wasn't working. It wasn't working. And so finally, I listened. I was like, okay, guess I'm meant to be here now. And then that's when my healing, my spiritual awakening happened. That's when my deep healing happened. That's when I was forced to really be with myself and sit with myself. And the running away stopped. And so I see this in my clients as well. It can running away can manifest in actually like an addiction to travel. Like you're traveling all the time. You don't have a home base. And again, doing that at some points in your life is super fun and exciting, and you learn so much from travel. But if you find yourself like, I keep traveling, but nothing is changing within me. I'm not growing. I'm not evolving. I still don't know what my purpose is, right? Then the traveling, the running away is keeping you stuck. Do you see that? Do you feel that? The running away can also look like focusing on the next thing. Like, oh, I have to go back to school now to do this. I have to take this training. I have to take this certification, or I have to do this first, right? It's running away from being in the present moment and being with yourself and where you're at and what you really are ready to experience and receive for yourself. So running away is a super interesting tactic that the ego creates to keep you busy, to keep you outside of yourself instead of letting yourself go inward. So notice, do I have a tendency to run away? Do I have this tendency to create all these different situations or scenarios that keep me, again, outside of myself, that keep me in this fight or flight mode so I don't have the time or the space to go inward? So running away is a huge tactic, sneakily implemented by the ego to keep us stuck. The next tactic that's been coming through that I think is so interesting, and again, I see this with family members, I see this with friends, I see this with clients, it's focusing on other people. It's focusing on other things, other people outside of ourselves. And that can look like blaming other people for why we are the way we are. And that can also look like codependency. So wanting to fix other people and getting wrapped up in other people's drama all of the time instead of committing to figuring out our own drama, right? So I like to share my experiences because I've heard from people that when, as a healer and a leader, I'm not perfect. I am far from perfect. And when I share with my clients my experiences, then it like almost gives people a sense of relief, like, oh, she feels that too. Or she's experienced like just what I'm experiencing right now. And so I think it's so important to share my experiences and my story because it can give you a lot of insight into your life as well. So blaming other people when I was still working as a nurse in the hospital, and I knew in my heart and my soul I needed to leave that job to step into my holistic healing business full time and to follow my passion of being an energy healer. I was in this, job in the hospital, and my boss at the time wasn't treating me very well. And there was like a lot of blame placed on that person. Like, why is that person's so mean? They're this, they're that, they're doing all these bad things to me. When actually, like, I had a choice. I do feel that those things were kind of orchestrated by the universe to nudge me, to push me out into my new career as an energy healer. And at the same time, I had a choice. I could leave. I could step into my power. But I got wrapped up in blaming this other person for why I was stuck or why I was feeling the way I was feeling, right? And then I see this again with clients. It's like there can sometimes be a focus on fixing our other family members or our friends. And I'll be in sessions with people sometimes, and every time I ask them a question about themselves, it's like they start talking about another person in their life. And I have to like continually redirect them back to themselves. And sometimes I've even had to say, hey, every time you start talking about someone else, I'm just going to bring you back to you because we can't fix that other person. They're not here. We can't help them unless they want to be helped. We can't control anybody else. We can't make someone act or be or do something in the way we think they should. But you're here right now. So let's focus on you. And that can create some discomfort. That can make the ego really mad and really upset, right? Like, that's scary. I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to go inward. I don't want to create the shifts that I know deep inside are really needed, right? So just be aware, just notice, do I have a tendency to invest all of my energy in worrying about, trying to fix, trying to control other people? That is a huge tactic implemented by our negative egos to keep us stuck, to prevent us from evolving and stepping into our power. And then the third tactic I'd love to share with you today, it goes back to what the last episode was about, episode number 38. If you haven't listened to that one yet, please do. It's really magical. But episode 38 is all about why you don't trust yourself. And that's the number 3 tactic that the ego implements, is not trusting yourself. You know you best. You don't, I'll say it again. I said it last episode and I love this. It's been coming through so strongly. You don't need AI. You are I. You are your own intelligence. You have intelligence. You have this brilliance, this divine channel, this inner wisdom that lives inside of you, that knows exactly what you need in every single moment. Except the ego is our counterpart to that. So we have our wisdom and we have our ego. We have the feeling and the knowing, and we have the thinking and the problem solving part of our brain. And so do you see how those two things are really on these opposite ends of the spectrum? And when they are those opposing forces, when we keep them separated and when we keep them fighting against each other, or when the ego grows too big and strong, it kind of just engulfs the wisdom, right? It kind of just eats up the wisdom and the wisdom can't get through, or it overshadows the wisdom, your divine knowing, your intuitive channel. So what can you do is to build the awareness and to give the ego, take back control from the ego, and let it come into more harmony and more balance. So the way things are really meant to work is you get a feeling, you get a download, you get this little nugget of wisdom that drops in from the divine, from your soul, wherever. And then that piece of wisdom creates a feeling. And it might be a feeling of excitement. Like, I'll guide you through an example in just a moment. And then that feeling sparks the action. And then the thinking, the problem solving. How am I going to implement this? How am I going to make it work, right? So let's just take, for example, I get a little drop, a little nugget of wisdom. This is a true life story around, I have this program called Illumination. It's a journey through the chakras. So this little nugget of information drops in. Ooh, I want to guide people through healing through the 7 energy centers. And then that nugget of wisdom, that idea makes me so excited. It lights me up. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is such a brilliant idea. It feels so good to me and my system. I've experienced this before. I want to take people through that as well. And so that nugget of wisdom turns into a feeling of excitement, of passion. And then I start to act. Then I start to create the program. Then I start to make an outline of it. How am I going to get this out into the world? Then the thinking mind comes in. Okay, I'm going to create a web page for it. I'm going to launch it. I'm going to create social media posts for it. I'm going to promote it to people. I'm going to talk about it, right? So this is how our energy is meant to work, except the ego sometimes, a lot of the times, just comes in and blocks it from the get-go. So let's just say like the idea dropped in, ooh, I'm going to start this program. It's called Illumination. And then let's say the ego comes in right away. Oh, that will never work. No one will sign up. You don't have the time to create a program. You don't have the money for a launch, right? All of these interesting tactics come in that are causing me not to trust myself and not believe in myself. When actually it was this divine knowing that was coming in, that was trying to guide me, that was trying to support me, that was helping me, human Dana, in this human body, connect with the truth of my soul. So ego tactic, sneaky tactic number 3 is not trusting yourself. And so how do we trust ourselves? We ground and connect. We come back to our own energy. We come back to our truth. Because once we identify and recognize what our truth is, it is so powerful. And you will be unstoppable. So all of these little things, all of these little interesting ego tactics, all of these sneaky ways that the ego can come in and block us and perpetuate feeling stuck are things that we can transcend. It takes awareness. It takes the willingness to pause and listen. And again, I feel so strongly that once we start to do this inner work, it will be reflected outward. And people around us will start to feel it. They'll get inspired. They'll start to shift. And then people around them will get inspired, start to shift. So it is energy. It is the law of the universe. If you perpetuate, if you speak, if you're calling in, emanating outward, the energy of anger, of hatred, of violence, guess what you're going to get in return? If you are putting out there the energy of love, of abundance, of compassion, guess what you are going to get in return? And anything that tries to come in that doesn't align with that energy is just going to bounce right off of you because you're so attuned and so connected deeply to what your truth is. Humanity's truth is one of connection. Humanity's truth is one of peace and ease and love. And over time, collectively, the ego, the energy of the ego has taken over. So this isn't just one-offs. Oh, it's happened to you. It's happened to you. It's happened to you. It's happened to all of us. So do you see how this is all connected? And it's being mirrored out in our world today, out in the struggles, the atrocities, the pain, the hurt that humanity is experiencing right now. So the overshadowing of the ego has the opportunity to heal, or the excessive ego has the opportunity to come into more balance. And it starts with you. I sent this email out to my soul tribe. If we don't evolve, if we don't transform, who will? Heart-led healers and conscious leaders and light workers, we are in this really beautiful space right now where we have the opportunity to step up. Because the things that have been happening aren't working. And so, what's new and different? It's healers becoming the new leaders. It's healers really empowering the next level of our human evolution. Because the ego, the excessive ego, brought us to this space of too much control, too much doing, too much working, exhausting ourselves, right? Disconnecting ourselves. And so let's bring it back home. Let's bring it back to our truth. Let's bring it back to love. Let's bring it back into the heart space so that this world can be led by the heart. Ah, I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in to the Energy Center podcast. Always remember that you can check out more about me at my website, danateresa.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dana Teresa Star. Check out my YouTube channel, Dana Teresa. But tune into your heart. Start following your heart. Notice when these tricky ego tactics are coming in, and know that you have the capacity, you have the ability to transcend them, to not let them take over, to really follow your purpose and your passion guided by your soul. So thank you again for tuning in. Namaste. I'll see you next time.